Here are the top stories for today, June 24, 2020. Health Secretary Francisco Duque says the spike of COVID-19 cases in Cebu City is not the so-called second wave. Malacanang says President Duterte's support for DOH Secretary Francisco Duque will not affect the Ombudsman probe against him. The DOH hopes to start clinical trials of the antiviral drug Avigan by July. And the palace says PCOO Undersecretary Lorraine Badoy's remark against activist nun Sister Mary John Mananzan is covered by freedom of expression. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Let us take a look at the situation in Cebu City. As the number of COVID-19 cases spikes to almost 5,000, Health Secretary Francisco Duque III said it is not considered a second wave of the coronavirus disease 2019, but a continuing sustained transmission. Duque said the breach in case doubling time, critical care utilization rates, and high positivity rate are the parameters in assessing the local response of a local government. It also serves as a basis in imposing ECQ. Duque said he is confident that Cebu City will be able to improve its case doubling time and consequently allowed to be downgraded to a lower risk classification status. He also reminded local officials that downgrading their quarantine classification will depend on how the city is able to address those parameters or indicators that they need to monitor.
We do not consider the imposition of ECQ in the reasons rather as constituting the second wave. It's still part of the first wave. This is a pandemic wave, as a matter of fact.
Meanwhile, Interior Secretary Eduardo Año has ordered the suspension of 250,000 ECQ passes except for essential workers. At least 10 barangays that have the most number of COVID-19 cases are placed under hard lockdown. These are Mambaling, Cebu City Jail Area, Luz, Labangon, Suba, Camputao, Tejero, Sambag 2, Dulho Fatima, and Basak San Nicolas. Malacanang said President Duterte, who earlier expressed his desire to visit Cebu City, will only be allowed to go if there is a decrease in the number of COVID-19 cases. President Duterte said Monday that overconfidence and complacency led to the increase of COVID-19 cases in Cebu.
Hindi pa po siguro ngayon, no? Kinakailangan bumaba muna yung mga kaso ng COVID-19. Pero talagang taga-Cebu naman po ang ating presidente. Kaya kampante siya na maintindihan ng mga taga-Cebu kung meron man siyang mga sasabihin na galing sa puso at prangka.
Malacanang is urging the public to help in preventing the rise of COVID-19 infections in the country. The UP research team earlier warned that the total number of COVID-19 infections in the Philippines could reach 40,000 by the end of June. The team's projection was based on current trends in COVID-19 data in the country. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque maintained that the further spread of COVID-19 could be prevented by heeding the government's call on all Filipinos to stay home, observe physical distancing, practice regular hand washing, and use of disinfectants.
The challenge, mga kababayan, let us disprove the prediction of UP na magiging 40,000. Huwag po sana nating payagan na umabot ng 40,000 pag tapos po ng buwan ng Hunyo. Challenge po yan. I hope everyone will accept this challenge.
Meanwhile, DSWD Secretary Rolando Bautista stressed the importance of validation to obtain a clean list of qualified low-income households that will receive the second tranche of cash aid. The DSWD said it is still validating the report submitted by the local government units to avoid duplication of assistance. Malacanang expressed optimism that the distribution of the second tranche of cash subsidies would be completed within the week. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar assured that the administration is doing its best to coordinate with all line agencies and local government units to address the needs of the people.
Maniwala po kayo sa hindi. Ginagawa po lahat ng ating pamahalaan ang dapat gawin upang kahit papano maibsan ang epekto ng epidemyang kinakaharap natin. Ang tanging hiling lang po natin ay pag-ibayuhin pa ang ating pasensya. Para naman sa atin ito. Tiwala lang po sa proseso. Let us do our part. Let us be patient.
The Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases has updated the method for appeals on the reclassification of community quarantines. The updated methodology for local government appeals are as follows: daily trend of active cases, number and percent of population, percent of close contacts traced and percent of contacts in quarantine, number and utilization of community isolation beds, Met Health System capacity, targets and utilization, COVID special teams investigations and results, and priority areas for segmental lockdown. There will be only 4 levels of community quarantine: the strictest enhanced community quarantine, modified ECQ, general community quarantine, and the most relaxed modified GCQ. And as the government seeks to reopen the economy, restaurants, cafes, and bars are now allowed to offer dine-in services until 9 p.m. These establishments are allowed to operate at 30% capacity, provided that the venue capacity allows for social distancing protocols, and they must also comply with the proper health protocols. Malacanang said it will prioritize sending home repatriated OFWs and locally stranded individuals first before deciding on the resumption of operations of provincial buses. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said provincial buses will eventually be allowed once there are no longer any OFW or LSI stuck in Metro Manila. He warned that allowing provincial buses would cause more harm than good, since local governments were already refusing to accept OFWs and LSIs to begin with, especially those who have yet to undergo testing for coronavirus disease.
Eventually, allow po natin yan. Pero ngayon nga po, ang pangunahing problema natin sa mga stranded individuals, sa mga OFW, ayaw tanggapin ng iba't ibang mga probinsya. Tingin ko po, antayin muna nating mag-improve ang ating COVID situation. Nang sa ganon, magkaroon din po ng kumpiyansa yung mga probinsya na tanggapin ang mga papunta sa kanilang mga jurisdictions.
Malacanang said UV Express vans have a higher chance of resuming transport operations compared to the traditional public utility jeepneys. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said that unlike PUJs with the seats that make passengers face each other, UV Express vans have seats that let passengers face one direction, which minimizes the risk of COVID-19 infection. He said both the UV Express vans and PUJs will be tapped if the current modes of public transportation are not enough to send commuters to their respective destinations. Roque also said the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board is currently looking into the possibility of allowing traditional PUJs. Albay Representative Joey Sarte Salceda said Congress will help find ways to pay for the government debt through various tax policies, particularly those that would boost the country's credit ratings and make loans cheaper. In a text message, Salceda said his advice is to spend what we need now, whatever it takes for the country to survive COVID-19, and borrow if we must. He said the government has to prioritize what we need to survive, such as relief efforts. Salceda noted that the proposed tax on the digital economy would generate 29.1 billion pesos in government revenues. Taxes on Philippine offshore gaming operators, or POGOs, will yield 45 billion pesos annually, and the proposed motor vehicle road users tax will give the government 205 billion pesos in a span of 5 years. He stressed the need for the government to borrow now, otherwise the balance sheet problems tend to get worse over time when neglected. The Joint Task Force COVID Shield warned motorists not to encroach in designated bicycle lanes along roads of Metro Manila. JTF CV Shield Commander Lieutenant General Guillermo Eleazar said motorists turning bicycle lanes into parking spaces or using them to avoid traffic jams not only disrespect bicycle riders but also put their lives at risk. Eleazar said they are now coordinating with the Highway Patrol Group and local police commanders in clearing designated bicycle lanes. Several LGUs have already designated bicycle lanes such as Quezon City, Pasig City, and Taguig City. The MMDA is also planning to designate a bicycle lane along EDSA. Still to come, Malacanang says President Duterte's support for DOH Secretary Francisco Duque will not affect the Ombudsman probes against him. The DOH hopes to start clinical trials on the antiviral drug Avigan by July. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Sa bahay nagsisimula ang kaalaman at paghahanda. Kasabay ng muling pagsisimula natin ay ang bagong pamumuhay para sa ikabubuti ng lahat. Sundin ang mga panuntunan ng inyong lokal na pamahalaan at lugar na pupuntahan. Sundin palagi ang physical distancing. Pag-uwi, maghugas ng kamay at ihanda ng mabuti ang mga ilulutong pagkain. Kapag may nararamdaman, katulad ng mga sintomas ng COVID-19, kumonsulta sa doktor online gamit ang mga iba't ibang paraan ng telemedicine upang hindi na muna umalis ng bahay. Kung hirap huminga, magpakonsulta kaagad sa pinakamalapit na health facility. Maaari ring tawagan ang inyong Barangay Health Emergency Response Team o BHERT. Ang mga kapamilyang may kasalukuyang karamdaman at mga nakatatanda ay dapat mas ingatan. Kung may nabago man sa aming buhay, ito ay ang pagdudobleng ingat para mapangalagaan ang isa't isa at ang kapwa. Dahil ang natutunan sa bahay ay sandata para sa new normal.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. Malacanang said it was not surprised that 43% of Filipinos are expecting their life to get worse in the next 12 months, as per the latest SWS survey. Presidential spokesperson Harry Duque said the public response is already expected since the COVID-19 outbreak remains a threat not only to the Philippines but also to other virus-hit countries. According to the May 4 to 10 survey released by polling firm Social Weather Stations, 43% of Filipinos are pessimists as they expect their quality of life to worsen in the next 12 months. 24% are optimists about their life improvement, while another 24% expect their life to be the same in the next 12 months. The poll reported record low net optimism in the Visayas and Mindanao, followed by Metro Manila and Luzon. The SWS interviewed more than 4,000 working-age Filipinos who are 15 years of age and above through mobile phone and computer-assisted interviews. Malacanang said the ongoing investigation launched by Ombudsman Samuel Martires against Health Secretary Francisco Duque III will not be affected by President Duterte's show of support for the health chief. Martires earlier ordered a team to probe the purchase of 100,000 test kits by the Department of Health, the delayed procurement of personal protective equipment sets and other medical gears, as well as alleged lapses and irregularities that led to the death and infection of healthcare workers and rise in the number of deaths, among others.
Tuloy pa rin ang investigasyon, kaya nga sabi po ni Presidente, with all due respects to Ombudsman Martires, no, alam po niya na independyente at constitutional office ang Ombudsman at hindi po niya hinahadlangan ang investigasyon nito. Alam po niya ang batas niya, titignan lang niya kung meron nalabag na batas, kung hindi man ang anti-graft law, then titignan po niya yung Salonga Law and Code of Conduct for Public Officers.
More law offenders are arrested in eastern Visayas as authorities intensify its law enforcement operations. A total of 26 most wanted persons and 537 other law offenders were arrested in 16 days of continuous operations amid the community quarantine. The region-wide law enforcement operations from May 26 to June 10 led to the arrest of 7 most wanted persons, each in Leyte, Samar, and Eastern Samar. 4 are arrested in Northern Samar and 1 in Biliran. Their crimes range from murder, attempted murder, rape, statutory rape, qualified theft and car theft, child abuse, Exploitation and Discrimination Act, among others. A total of 274 checkpoints across eastern Visayas have been set up to control the movement of people since the outbreak of COVID-19 in the country began. Health officials plan to implement pooled testing of specimens to speed up and test more possible cases of COVID-19. More on this from Chris Mundo.
The COVID-19 Laboratory Experts Panel is studying pooled testing of specimens to maximize the testing capacity of laboratories nationwide. The Department of Health said in pooled testing, specimens will be put together, and if the pooled samples are negative, it means every specimen in the samples is negative as well. The DOH ethics review would help identify the appropriate number of specimens to be included in a pooled testing. Meanwhile, the DOH is hoping to start with a clinical trial on the antiviral drug Avigan by the 2nd or 3rd week of July. DOH Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres said the Avigan trial is another clinical trial on the possible treatment of patients infected with COVID-19. She said they are just waiting for the Congress Ethics Committee clearance for this trial protocol. On May 6, Vergeres said the Japanese government would be providing enough supply of Avigan for some 100 patients who will be chosen for the trial. In other news, the DOH warned the public against suspicious emails allegedly sent by them for the distribution of COVID-19 supplies, equipment, and commodities to businesses and the private sector. Vergeres said the department is coordinating with the Philippine National Police and the National Bureau of Investigation to identify the personalities behind the fraudulent emails allegedly being used to steal data. She also advised the public not to click the files attached to the emails to prevent fraudulent attacks on data and personal information. Anyone who encounters these may contact the DOH call center hotline. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Mundo.
Malacanang says the government is ensuring the effective implementation of the Anti-Money Laundering Act. This after the 2 largest banks in the country have been dragged into the controversial wire card scandal. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque gave the guarantee after the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas said Sunday that the $2.1 billion missing from German payment firm Wirecard AG did not enter the Philippines' financial system. Wirecard's external auditors at Ernst & Young found the missing funds were funneled into 2 Asian banks, which were later identified as BDO, Unibank, and the Bank of the Philippine Islands, or BPI. BDO and BPI, however, stressed that bank documents tagging them were spurious. Roque also emphasized that the Philippines is known for having an effective AMLA. He explained that the country is no longer tagged by the international community as one of the areas with weak anti-money laundering regulations. In our business news, micro, small, and medium enterprises can use the One Town, One Product Souvenir Center in Angeles City, Pampanga to showcase and promote their merchandise free of charge. The city government made this initiative to help MSMEs recover from the impact of the COVID-19 health crisis and at the same time promote and boost the sales of local products. Executive Assistant for Reina Manuel said any potential merchant can register online or through the Angeles City Economic Development and Investment Promotions Office. Local merchants only need to submit their barangay permits or a Food and Drug Administration certification for food vendors. The OTOP Center is located in Nepomuceno Street, Barangay Santo Rosario. Up next, the palace says PCCO Undersecretary Lorraine Badoy's remark against activist nun Sister Mary John Mananzan is covered by freedom of expression. And a power company starts installing power lines in parts of the most affected area of Marawi City. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders. Malacanang on Tuesday says Communications Undersecretary Lorraine Badoy's statement tagging activist nun Sister Mary John Mananzan as a longtime ally of the National Democratic Front is covered by freedom of expression. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said Badoy is entitled to her own expression or opinion. Roque noted that as much as the public had the right to criticize the government, public officials also have the right to say what they want, including criticizing their enemies. He said he would leave it to the government officials to release their own statements. In a Facebook post last June 17, Badoy claimed that Mananzan was a longtime ally of the NDF, the political arm of the Communist Party of the Philippines, after the activist nun condemned the conviction of Rappler CEO Maria Ressa and former researcher-writer Ray Santos of cyber libel. Parts of Marawi City's most affected area are expected to have electricity soon as an electric cooperative begins installation of power lines. More on this from Christine Lynn Viajante.
The Lanao del Sur Electric Cooperative Incorporated installs electric distribution lines in 2 out of 9 sectors in the most affected area of Marawi City in coordination of the National Housing Authority and Task Force Bangon Marawi. This is one of 2 major projects that the power company will implement together with the two-way 20 MVA Gadongan Power Substation to fully energize the whole area.
Kumpiyansa po ako with regards doon sa speaking sa electricity. Kumpiyansa po ako na matatapos namin. Oras na po na magtulungan tayo kasi kung ano man yung tagumpay ng Lasureco ngayon, tagumpay din ng taga Lanao District. I believe kasi pag walang ilaw, it will affect the development and progress of a certain city.
NHA assures that the installation of the electric post was approved in terms of the road right-of-way and guaranteed that this will not be affected by any road clearing activities.
Yung cooperation ng Lasureco is the road right-of-way. Dapat pasok sila doon sa road right-of-way sa primary, secondary at saka tertiary. At saka meron tayong memorandum of agreement sa kanila na sila talaga ang may power supply dito sa Marawi.
Meanwhile, TFBM Field Office Manager Felix Castro Jr. announced that workers of the most affected area are already slowly getting back for the continuous rehabilitation of the war-torn city.
Nabanggit nga ni Secretary de Rosario na full blast sa July. Ngayon, nagbabalikan na yung mga workers. Marami nang pumasok na mga workers, mga agencies. Nagpupunta na rin doon. So, we expect to be working full blast itong July at hahabulin natin yung target date natin na December 2021.
For PNA Newsroom, Christine Lynn Viajante of PIA Ligan City Information Center.
Malacanang respects the decision of U.S. President Donald Trump to suspend new employment-based visas from being issued this year, including the type of visas generally used for high-skilled workers. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque on Tuesday said the U.S. and any other sovereign state like the Philippines are free to decide on such policies. Trump issued the order to protect American workers from foreign competition for jobs as the U.S. struggles to recover from the economic devastation caused by COVID-19. Over 500,000 people are expected to be prevented from entering the country legally on employment visas. Duque meanwhile bared that the IATF has yet to decide whether it will allow the entry of foreign workers in the country amid the flight restrictions due to the outbreak. Currently, only returning overseas Filipino workers, Filipino citizens, their spouses and dependents, permanent residents, and foreign diplomats are allowed to enter the country. In sports, the entire tennis community was rocked on Tuesday when world number 1 Novak Djokovic confirmed that he has just been affected by COVID-19. In a statement, the tennis superstar from Serbia said he and his wife Jelena have tested positive for COVID-19. They have just returned to the capital city of Belgrade after his exhibition event, the Adria Tour in Zadar, Croatia, over the weekend. Their children have, however, tested negative. The Adria Tour finals were cancelled after one of the supposed protagonists, Bulgarian tennis star Grigor Dimitrov, tested positive for COVID-19. Two more tennis players, Borna Koric of host country Croatia and Djokovic's compatriot Viktor Troicki, also tested positive. With the number of people recovering from COVID-19 increasing, especially in the Balkan region, Djokovic deemed that a special tournament would give tennis fans something to watch out for despite the pandemic. Djokovic said he would also undergo self-isolation for 2 weeks and get retested in 5 days. In our foreign news, global confirmed COVID-19 cases now stand at more than 9.2 million cases. Data compiled by the Center for Systems Science and Engineering at the Johns Hopkins University showed that the 9 million mark was breached last Monday. The CSSC data showed nearly 500,000 people worldwide have died of the disease. The United States suffered the most from the pandemic, with over 2 million cases and a death toll of over 121,000. Among the countries with more than 200,000 cases are Brazil, Russia, India, Great Britain, Peru, Chile, Spain, Italy, and Iran. With the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic affecting education nationwide, students will soon learn science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM, online or through the radio as part of the new norm. The Department of Science and Technology, through its Science Education Institute, is developing supplemental resources that will enrich STEM learning even when outside the classroom. It is collaborating with the Department of Education to enhance STEM learning for elementary students through their Radio Eskwela sa Ciencia and for high school students via Tukla Ciencia sa Eskwela programs. These programs will be on the roll in time for the opening of classes. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. Health Secretary Francisco Duque says the spike of COVID-19 cases in Cebu City is not the so-called second wave. Malacanang says President Duterte's support for DOH Secretary Francisco Duque will not affect the Ombudsman probe against him. The DOH hopes to start clinical trials of the antiviral drug Avigan by July. And the palace says PCOO Undersecretary Lorraine Badoy's remark against activist nun Sister Mary John Mananzan is covered by freedom of expression. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, check our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day and stay safe, everyone.